Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Robinson, and welcome to another exciting edition of Striving for It All. This is the program that gets you caught up on anything and everything happening around the WNBA. Coming up on this edition of the program, we'll give you this year's WNBA All-Star rosters as we get closer to the Olympic break. Also, we'll give you once again the names of who will be on Team USA for this year's Olympic team. We have your current league leaders and standings and so much more. So stay tuned, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. I want to start off with my top three storylines. I want to start off talking about the Indiana Fever. You talk about a wild ride in this first half of the year. Caitlin Clark, the number one overall pick in this year's WNBA draft. This has been a whirlwind for her. We've seen on the court, we've seen how a lot of her teammates have not been receptive to her. We've seen some of the coaches, including her head coach, Christy Sides, kind of playing games with her, still playing games with Caitlin. However, things have improved. Things started improving in the month of June. The Fever's record went 7-4. As this show is airing in the month of July, the Fever's record stands at 3-2. So not only are we seeing Caitlin Clark continuing to get more confidence and shooting the ball more, we're also starting to see the relationship improve game by game with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. Kelsey Mitchell. Listen, Kelsey is one of the best offensive players in the league. She's a walking bucket. If she's open, 9 times out of 10, she's not going to pass the ball. She's going to shoot the ball, whether she's double team or triple team. But Kelsey is an all-star this year, and certainly her play has continued to improve. We've also seen players like Lexi Hall. She's been improving steadily game by game in this recent surge, so to speak, by the Indiana Fever. I'm still not sold on head coach Christy Sides, but however, for the most part, the Fever are playing well, picking it up, so to speak. Matter of fact, if the playoffs started today, Indiana would be in the playoffs. But for a while, like after the first month of the year, after the month of May and even in the beginning of June, has looked as though this was going to be a lost cause for the Indiana Fever. But now lately, they've been picking it up. They've been stepping it up. As I mentioned, the chemistry continues to improve game by game with Clark and Boston. And we'll see what happens with these couple of games that are left just before the Olympic break. Actually, the Fever have one more game before the Olympic break. But right now it seems as though the first half of the year and really this season looked to be a lost cause for the Indiana Fever. But now the Fever are currently in playoff contention right now. If they can just hold, and hopefully they can get a resurgence. Remember, Caitlin, not on this year's United States Olympic team. I think it's a blessing in disguise for her to get rest. Remember, she's been running hard really since last year when she was at the University of Iowa. And now with her being full speed ahead, blazing saddles, and now she's going to get that rest that she definitely needs for the next 3 weeks. And I think this is going to play out into her favor. Again, not being on the Olympic team, a blessing in disguise for her. And the Fever can really get going because remember, once the Olympic break is over with, when they come back, it's going to be the middle of August. So you have the middle of August and then you have September. So there's only basically, I'll say a month and a half. We're really almost 2 months left in the regular season when the Olympic break is over with. But this could be a blessing in disguise for not only Caitlin, but also for the rest of the players on that team, like a Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston and a Nalissa Smith. So right now, the Fever are in solid position right now. A lot of people, by the way they played the beginning of the first half of the year, it seemed as though it was a lost cause. It seemed that they weren't playoff bound. But right now, they're in playoff contention, and certainly the Fever have stepped it up slowly but surely. My next storyline is going to be the New York Liberty. So the Liberty have been rocking and rolling really since June. They only lost one game in the month of June, and they only lost one regular season game in the month of June. And despite losing the Commissioner's Cup back on June the 25th against the Minnesota Lynx, they have just been on fire. In their last 6 games, the Liberty have won their last 5 out of 6 games, beating Atlanta on June the 30th, beating Minnesota on July the 2nd, losing to the Fever on July the 6th. However, they would come back and win their next 3, beating Connecticut and having back-to-back wins against Chicago. So Sabrina Ionescu has just been on a tear during this winning streak. Breanna Stewart currently has an injury with a sore hamstring, but, again, she should be good to go in time just for the Olympics, and definitely she'll be ready to go when the Olympic break is over with. Jonquel Jones has played nice. Also, Courtney Vandersloot doing what she does best, being a floor general, getting the assists when necessary. Also, Betnijah Laney Hamilton has played well during this winning streak. But, man, Sabrina Ionescu has been on fire. And, again, Sabrina is on this year's Olympic team, so she's going to try to continue to keep that momentum going, keep that hot streak going into the Olympics. And certainly the Liberty currently remaining with the best record in the W, and certainly the Liberty, they're clicking on all cylinders no matter what, regardless of the situation. If a player is hurt or 2 players are hurt, guess what? They plug and play. They do what they need to do, and they get the job done. And it has shown in the first half of the year, and hopefully they could continue to keep that momentum going well after the Olympic break. And for my last storyline is going to be the Connecticut Sun. So Connecticut, so far in the month of July, they have been red hot. So they lost the game on June the 28th against Atlanta. But since then, in this 5-game stretch, Connecticut has won their last 4 out of 5 games, beating Phoenix on July 1st, beating Minnesota on July the 4th, then beating Atlanta July the 7th, losing to the New York Liberty on July the 10th, but then they would come back and beat the Phoenix Mercury on July the 14th. So we know the usual players, right? Dewana Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, Brianna Jones, Dejanay Carrington. But also don't forget about Taisha Harris and also Rachel Banham. I mean, Rachel is like a walking bucket, more like a walking 3-pointer, right? And the New York Liberty currently have the best record in the WNBA, but the Connecticut Sun are right behind them in second place. And certainly Connecticut, they're not to be played with. Again, Connecticut and New York, they're similar team. They are really kind of like similar in terms of their playing style. They're not big on speed, but one thing about Connecticut and really New York as well, the depth is just out of this world. I think New York is a little bit better with they're more in depth with more offensive players, but Connecticut, they're so good on the rebounding department with Brianna Jones and Alyssa Thomas, and then they've got defensive players with Dejanay Carrington and Taisha Harris, and of course Rachel Banham bringing the 3-point shooting. So Stephanie White doing an amazing job in the first half of the year with the Connecticut Sun. Hopefully they can continue that momentum similar to New York coming back after the Olympic break. All right, so that takes care of my top 3 storylines. Now it's time to talk this year's WNBA All-Star Game. So again, the format this year, because this is in an Olympic year, so the format since the WNBA has been doing this in terms of the All-Star Game, whenever it's in an Olympic year, it's always Team USA versus Team WNBA. So this year, Team USA, the United States Women's Olympic Basketball Team, it will be Nafisa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx, Kalia Copper of the Phoenix Mercury, Chelsea Gray of the Las Vegas Aces, Brittany Griner of the Phoenix Mercury, Sabrina Ionescu of the New York Liberty, Jewel Lloyd of the Seattle Storm, Kelsey Plum of the Las Vegas Aces, Breanna Stewart of the New York Liberty, Diana Taurasi of the Phoenix Mercury, Alyssa Thomas of the Connecticut Sun, Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces, and Jackie Young of the Las Vegas Aces. That is Team USA. and they will be present not only at this year's Summer Olympics in Paris, but also they will represent Team USA in this year's WNBA All-Star Game. The head coach of Team USA is Cheryl Reeve of the Minnesota Lynx. So as I stated earlier, we'll have Team USA going up against Team WNBA. So now for Team WNBA, we have Dewana Bonner representing the Connecticut Sun. We have Alicia Gray representing the Atlanta Dream. We also have De'Erica Hamby representing the Los Angeles Sparks. Brianna Jones representing the Connecticut Sun. We have Jonquel Jones representing the New York Liberty. We also have Kayla McBride representing the Minnesota Lynx. We have Kelsey Mitchell representing the Indiana Fever. We have Arike Ogunbowale representing the Dallas Wings. We have Nneka Ogwumike representing the Seattle Storm. Angel Reese representing the Chicago Sky. Aaliyah Boston representing the Indiana Fever. And Caitlin Clark representing the Indiana Fever. So this year for Team WNBA, this year's All-Star team for Team WNBA, Caitlin and Angel will be on the same All-Star team. That should be interesting. And it wouldn't surprise me if these two are in the starting lineup. Very interesting. So that takes care of our All-Star teams for this year for Team USA going up against Team WNBA for the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game. And Caitlin Clark, Caitlin was the leading vote getter in this year's WNBA All-Star Game. Caitlin received over 700,000 votes. The second leading vote getter was Aaliyah Boston, followed in third by Asia Wilson. Fourth was Brianna Stewart, and coming in at fifth, the queen of the double-double, Angel Reese. So there you have it. So again, Team USA versus Team WNBA in the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game. And it'll take place on July the 20th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on ABC. So this All-Star Game is expected to be unprecedented, not just with Angel Reese and not just with the whole Olympic background with the format with Team USA versus Team WNBA, but most importantly, Caitlin Clark, right? I mean, Caitlin has broken records, not just from an attendance standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint, and also with TV ratings as well. You know, Caitlin has really given the league a shot in the arm, unlike any other. And certainly Caitlin is a breath of fresh air, so to speak, even though there's been some naysayers. There've been a lot of doubters that say differently, but hey, Caitlin's been a welcome sign for the WNBA, and certainly this All-Star Game is definitely going to be one of epic proportion this year. Oh, and also too, July the 19th, the day before the All-Star Game, is going to be the 3-point contest and the skills challenge, and that will be televised on ESPN. So will Caitlin be in the 3-point contest? We have to pay attention to that, but certainly that should be a lot of fun. So again, July 19th on ESPN, it will be the WNBA 3-point contest and skills challenge. And then July 20th will be Team USA versus Team WNBA in the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game. And you can watch it on ABC, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. All right, now it's time to recap the week that was in the W. So let's start off with action from Tuesday, July the 9th. The Minnesota Lynx would beat the Los Angeles Sparks. Final score, 82-67. We move along now to action from Wednesday, July the 10th. We had the New York Liberty take on the Connecticut Sun. The Liberty would beat the Sun. Final score, 71-68. We had the Chicago Sky beat the Atlanta Dream. Final score, 78-69. Also another action, we had the Phoenix Mercury beat the Dallas Wings, 100-84. We had the Washington Mystics take on the Indiana Fever in a very close game, but in the end, the Mystics would hold on to win, 89-84. Despite the loss, Caitlin Clark had a double-double, 29 points and 13 assists. Here's Caitlin in action.
Clark working on Van Loo. Oh, Clark, pretty step back, hits a three. Clark trying to answer, and does with a three. Clark the switch on to Dolson, steps back and buries a triple. Here is Clark turning on the Jets. Clark gets to the rim. Indiana has numbers here. Clark looks to take advantage. Clark launches and hits a three. Here's Clark, catch and shoot, hits a three. And another turnover. And Clark beats the pack back.
All right, that audio is courtesy of the WNBA, NBA TV, and League Pass. So again, despite the loss, the Fever had contributions from Caitlin Clark. She finished with 29 points and 13 assists. Kelsey Mitchell finished with 15 points. Nalissa Smith finished with 11 points. On the winning side for the Mystics, Ariel Atkins finished with 26 points. Julie Van Loo finished with 13 points. Aaliyah Edwards had 12 points. Shatori Walker-Kimbrough finished with 10 points. And Stephanie Dolson finished with 13 points. Once again, the final score, Mystics 89, Fever 84. And then we move along to action in the Pacific Northwest, a tight one between the Las Vegas Aces and the Seattle Storm. Las Vegas would win 84-79. This game was all about A'ja Wilson. And I mean, hey, what an amazing first half of the year that she is having. She dropped her first 2020 game of her career, and certainly she has been phenomenal and continued to be phenomenal. Here's A'ja in action.
Hook pass inside. Wilson, deep post position. Flips it up, and that one goes. Can't let her get that deep. Second chance opportunity there. Bad pass. Martin on the steal. Wilson right down Broadway. Lay it up and in for A'ja Wilson. Wilson the fadeaway, and she snuggles that one home. A'ja Wilson starting to find her range. Wilson, she knocks it down. Everything's starting to go. Wilson from 18 snuggles it home. Young, step back three, no good. Tipped around. Plum has it to Wilson, and she scores. Second chance opportunities. Wilson now against Agumake. Backing in, tough shot forced by Nneka, and she knocks it down. My goodness.
All right, that audio was courtesy of League Pass. So as I stated earlier, A'ja dropped her first 2020 game of her career. She had 24 points and 20 rebounds. Jackie Young was also sensational as well. She finished with 27 points. Kelsey Plum finished with 13, and Chelsea Gray finished with 11 points. On the losing end for the Seattle Storm, Jewel Lloyd, a.k.a. the Gold Mamba, she finished with 28 points. Skylar Diggins-Smith finished with 16 points, and Ezi Magbagor finished with the double-double with 10 points and 10 rebounds. Once again, the final score, Las Vegas 84, Seattle 79. Let's move along now to action from Thursday, July the 11th. We had the New York Liberty beat the Chicago Sky. Final score, 91-76. We move along now to action from Friday, July the 12th. The Las Vegas Aces beat the Atlanta Dream 84-70. The Seattle Storm beat the Minnesota Lynx. Final score, 91-63. And then we had the Indiana Fever handle their business, beating the Phoenix Mercury. Final score, 95-86. Caitlin Clark had a double-double with 20 points, 13 assists. Aaliyah Boston also had a double-double with 21 points, 13 rebounds. Nalissa Smith, she had a double-double as well with 14 points and 10 rebounds. Kelsey Mitchell finished with 28 points. Despite the loss for the Phoenix Mercury, Kalia Copper finished with 36 points, and Sophie Cunningham finished with 21 points. Once again, the final score, Indiana 95, Phoenix 86. We move along now to action from Saturday, July the 13th. We had the Los Angeles Sparks beat the Dallas Wings in a close game, 87-81. And we had the New York Liberty take care of the Chicago Sky. Final score, 81-67. This game was all about Sabrina Ionescu. Sabrina, hey, we're coming into the Olympic break. And listen, Sabrina, showing her worth, showing her keep, especially lately with the Liberty. They've had the injuries with Breanna Stewart, but Sabrina, hey, doing what Sabrina does best, get points and also get some assists as well. Here's Sabrina in action.
Head coach Teresa Weatherspoon says she's got guard-like abilities as Sabrina hits one. Sabrina with the bucket. Jones passed up a shot. Now Ionescu for three. Sabrina over Cardozo. She just shot over 6'7". Holy cow. Sabrina pulled up, had just a little bit of room to get around Carter for the bucket. Sabrina, big time three.
All right, that audio was courtesy of the WNBA, ABC, and the Walt Disney Company. So again, the final score, the New York Liberty 81, the Chicago Sky 67. So for the Liberty, Sabrina Ionescu finished with 28 points. Jonquel Jones finished with 14 points. Leonie Fibik finished with 13 points. And Ivana Dokic finished with 12 points. On the losing end for the Sky, Marina Mabry had a double-double with 21 points and 12 rebounds. Angel Reese, only 8 points, but had 16 rebounds. And Michaela Onyanwere had 14 points. Again, the final score, New York 81, Chicago 67. We move along now to action from Sunday, July the 14th. And we had Asia Wilson. Listen, Asia breaking records. She wound up breaking a record in this game as the Las Vegas Aces were going to beat the Washington Mystics 89-77. Here's Asia in action.
Here's Plum attacking, gets around the help defense, misses Wilson on the follow, puts it off the window and in. Gray goes to Wilson on the slit, lays it up and in. Wilson with a bit of space. That one falls out to Hayes, 10 on the shot clock. Here's Wilson, foul line jumper. That's money. Wilson going right back at her, gets the better of the rookie this possession. Plum, cross to Wilson, and she lays it up and in. Wilson turns, fades on the baseline, and has a little chat with the baseline fans. Hayes will take. Asia Wilson with a beautiful rebound. Rattles in and out. Wilson, the offensive rebound. She puts it right back up and in.
All right, that audio was courtesy of CBSSN and League Pass. So as I mentioned earlier about Asia breaking records, Asia broke another record for the most 25 points and 10 rebound games in a single season. Yep. She's definitely the front runner for this year's league MVP. Asia in this game finished with 28 points and 17 rebounds, giving her another double-double. Kelsey Plum finished with 22 points, and Tiffany Hayes finished with 17 points. On the losing end for the Washington Mystics, Ariel Atkins finished with 36 points. Again, the final score, Las Vegas 89, Washington 77. The Seattle Storm would go on to beat the Atlanta Dream 81-70. The Indiana Fever beat the Minnesota Lynx 81-74. Aaliyah Boston had a double-double with 17 points, 16 rebounds. Nalissa Smith finished with 11 points. Kelsey Mitchell had 21 points, and Caitlin Clark finished with 17 points. On the losing end for the Lynx, Elena Smith finished with 18 points. Bridget Carlton finished with 17 points. Kayla McBride finished with 11 points, and Courtney Williams and Cecilia Zandalasini both finished with 10 points. Again, the final score, Indiana 81, Minnesota 74. And we had the Phoenix Mercury take on the Connecticut Sun. It was all Connecticut. Final score, 96-69. This game was all about Rachel Banham. Threes were raining on top of Phoenix, and Rachel Banham, she was a walking three-pointer in this game, setting a major record, which we'll get into in just a little bit. But here's Rachel in action.
Banham rains in a three. Here's Bonner leaning. Wanted a whistle, didn't get it. Burton did a nice job keeping it alive. Banham connects on a deep three. Here's Carrington. Bounces to the corner. Banham connects on another three. Carrington, the catch on the block. Dishes out. Banham. You bet. Rachel Banham. Banham. Banham again. Here's Banham. Nobody picks her up. You bet. Rachel Banham.
All right, that audio was courtesy of the WNBA, ABC, and the Walt Disney Company. Rachel set a WNBA record for making 8 3-pointers in a game. Yes, that is correct. She set a WNBA record with 8 3-pointers made coming off of the bench, and Rachel was just raining them, and this was her game. She finished with 24 points. DeWanna Bonner finished with 17 points. Brianna Jones finished with 16 points. And Dejanay Carrington had a double-double with 12 points and 11 rebounds. On the losing end for the Phoenix Mercury, Brittany Griner finished with 16 points. Kalia Copper finished with 17 points, and Natasha Cloud finished with 10 points. Again, the final score, Connecticut 96, Phoenix 69. And that was the week that was in the W. All right, so now before we give you the league leaders in the standings, it's time for our Player of the Week award winners. So for the week of July the 9th, the Eastern Conference Player of the Week award winner belongs to Angel Reese from the Chicago Sky. And for the Western Conference, for the third time this year, Asia Wilson from the Las Vegas Aces. So once again, congratulations to our Player of the Week award winners. For the Eastern Conference, Angel Reese from the Chicago Sky and Asia Wilson from the Las Vegas Aces. All right, now it's time for the current league leaders in the W. Let's start off in points per game. The leading scorer currently in the WNBA is Asia Wilson from the Las Vegas Aces. She's averaging 27 points per game. Coming in at number 2, Kalia Copper from the Phoenix Mercury. She's averaging 23 points per game. Coming in at number 3, Arike Ogunbowale from the Dallas Wings. In 4th, Nafisa Collier from the Minnesota Lynx. And in 5th, Jewel Lloyd from the Seattle Storm. Next category is going to be rebounds per game. Coming in at number 1, Angel Reese from the Chicago Sky. She's averaging 12 rebounds per game. Coming in at number 2, Asia Wilson. Coming in at number 3, Nafisa Collier. Coming in at number 4, De'Arica Hamby from the Los Angeles Sparks. And in 5th, Alyssa Thomas from the ConnecticutSun. Next category is going to be assists per game. Coming in at number 1, Caitlin Clark from the IndianaFever. She's averaging close to 8 assists per game. Coming in at number 2, Alyssa Thomas. Coming in at number 3, representing the Phoenix Mercury, Natasha Cloud. Coming in at number 4, Skylar Diggins-Smith from the Seattle Storm. And in 5th, Sabrina Ionescu from the New York Liberty. Next category is going to be steals per game. Coming in at number 1, Arike Ogunbowale from the Dallas Wings. She's averaging close to 3 steals per game. Coming in at number 2, Ryan Howard from the Atlanta Dream. Coming in 3rd, Nafisa Collier. Coming in 4th, Brianna Stewart from the New York Liberty. And in 5th, Asia Wilson. Next category is going to be blocks per game. Coming in at number 1, not only is she the leading scorer currently in the league, but also she's leading in blocks. Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces. She's averaging close to 3 blocks per game. Coming in at number 2, representing the Seattle Storm, Ezi Magbagor. At number 3, Cameron Brink from the Los Angeles Sparks. In 4th, Elena Smith from the Minnesota Lynx. And in 5th, Brianna Stewart of the New York Liberty. Next category is going to be field goal percentage. At number 1, representing the New York Liberty, Jonquel Jones. She's shooting 57% from the field. At number 2, Tiara McCowan from the Dallas Wings. She's shooting 56% from the field. Coming in 3rd, Brittany Griner from the Phoenix Mercury. In 4th, representing the ConnecticutSun, Brianna Jones. And in 5th, Asia Wilson. Next category is going to be free throw percentage. Coming in at number 1, representing the Chicago Sky, Dana Evans. She's shooting 97% from the free throw line. Coming in at number 2, Kayla McBride from the Minnesota Lynx. Coming in third, Arike Ogunbowale. Coming in fourth, Sabrina Ionescu from the New York Liberty. And in fifth, Caitlin Clark from the Indiana Fever. Next category is going to be 3-point percentage. At number 1, representing the Washington Mystics, Stephanie Dolson. She's shooting 50% from 3-point range. Coming in at number 2 from the Minnesota Lynx, Cecilia Zandalasini. She's shooting 46% from 3-point range. Coming in third, her teammate, Bridget Carlton. Coming in fourth, her other teammate from the Lynx, Elena Smith. And in fifth, representing the Seattle Storm, Nneka Ogwumike. And the last category is going to be minutes played. At number 1 from the Dallas Wings, Arike Ogunbowale. She's averaging 38 minutes a game. Coming in at number 2, De'Erica Hamby from the Los Angeles Sparks. Coming in third, Kelsey Plum from the Las Vegas Aces. Coming in fourth, Caitlin Clark from the Indiana Fever. And in fifth, from the Minnesota Lynx, Nafisa Collier. And that takes care of your current league leaders in the WNBA just before we hit the Olympic break. Now it's time for our current standings. So currently in first place, the New York Liberty. They have a record of 20 wins and 4 losses. Coming in second place are the ConnecticutSun. They have a record of 18-5. Coming in third, Las Vegas Aces with a record of 16-7. Coming in fourth, the Minnesota Lynx. They have a record of 16-8. Coming in fifth, the Seattle Storm. They have the same record, 16-8. Coming in sixth place, the Phoenix Mercury. They have a record of 12-12. Coming in seventh are the Indiana Fever. They have a record of 11-14. Coming in eighth place are the Chicago Sky. They have a record of 9-14. Coming in ninth place are the Atlanta Dream, followed in 10th by the Los Angeles Sparks, and 11th place are the Washington Mystics, and in last place are the Dallas Wings. They have a record of 5-19. So that takes care of your current standings. And now here are the games that we're going to have coming up in the W just before the Olympic break. So coming up on Tuesday, July the 16th, we have the Phoenix Mercury going up against the Washington Mystics. That game will be on, the tip-off will be at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Central, and you can watch that game on League Pass. And then at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Central, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, the Seattle Storm square off against the Los Angeles Sparks. You can watch that game on League Pass. And then there's going to be a doubleheader on Amazon Prime Video. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central between the ConnecticutSun and the New York Liberty. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific, the Chicago Sky will square off against the Las Vegas Aces. So Connecticut and New York and Chicago and Las Vegas, there'll be a doubleheader on Amazon Prime Video. And then let's move along now to action on Wednesday, July the 17th. Tip-off will be at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central between the Atlanta Dream and the Minnesota Lynx. You can watch that game on League Pass. And then tip-off is at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central between the Indiana Fever and the Dallas Wings. You can watch that game on ESPN. And then, of course, Friday, July the 19th will be the WNBA 3-point shootout and skills challenge. You can watch that on ESPN. And then Saturday, July the 20th, we have the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game, Team USA versus Team WNBA. Tip-off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, and you can watch that on ABC. So that's the schedule before we head into the long Olympic break. So definitely a lot of teams got a lot to fight for. There's a lot of teams out there that are jockeying for position, want to get in a comfortable position right before the Olympic break. And of course, we're gonna have an all-star weekend for the record books in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, a host of others. Man, this is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for this year's WNBA All-Star Game. And that's going to do it for this edition of the program. Until next time, everybody, I'm Ed Robinson saying so long, and you take care. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.